Welcome back, Honors. All right, first flip since your last test. And we know officially who won the competition. All right, so give me 1 second. All right, so we have our official scores in for the first donut-related competition for Mr. Terry's class. So tomorrow at lunch, one of these two periods is going to be receiving a reward. At lunch, not before. Why am I all crooked? There we go. So let's go ahead and reveal these averages, shall we? Should we start with G or E? How about we'll start with G. G coming in at a stellar 93.7. That is insane. That is a crazy high average. Blew my mind, all right? Now, E is working with disadvantages, so please don't be too upset when you find out because they only have 15 kids and stuff like that. So, as you know, G came in with a 94.1, so E won the competition. Y'all are going to be the first ones to get donuts. I will see you guys tomorrow. Please try to rub it in as many people's faces as possible. Good stuff. I'll even keep that in the background. All right, so anyway, so G, do not take this as a discouragement. It's just a simple competition, all right? It was separated by 0.4 of a point, all right? So that just means on the next one, just go a little harder, all right? So, but anyway, leaving off from where we were in class, we were talking about Greek geography, right? We talked about the big 8 time periods. We talked about all that stuff. We talked about geographic isolationism for like a hot second, all right? So first and foremost, as we were talking about, Greece's geography is ridiculously mountainous by comparison to what most people think, right? When most people think of Greece, they usually think of the islands that surround it, right? So first of all, something you also need to add into this somewhere, Greece is a peninsula that also includes multiple different islands along or off the coast, okay? So a lot of different archipelagos and a lot of different like trading options that were super available, right? So then you've got the two seas. Oh God, that's messed up. The two seas that border Greece, right? You've got the Aegean Sea, which is on the eastern side, and then you've got the Mediterranean Sea, which is on the western side. But the great thing about the Aegean Sea is it has a ton of great natural harbors, right? So with that, that means that the sea also has tons of islands that offer great contact with other civilizations in terms of trade, right? And sometimes even war, okay? Their climate, average temperature is about 75. It's known as a Mediterranean shrub climate. But also, here's the kicker. Some of you are like, well, dang, if I had to pick between Mesopotamia, Egypt, and all the other places we talk about, I'd pick Greece in a heartbeat. I agree with you. However, here's the catch, right? They have all these amazing things. Natural harbors you should underline, many islands, trade, war that you should underline because cultural diffusion is going to play a major part in their entire thing. Very mountainous, average temperature, Mediterranean shrub climate, right? But here's the catch. Can't have it perfect or else everybody settle there. They have horrendously bad farmland, like really bad, all right? Only 20% of Greece is farmable. All right, so, or farmable, if you want to be fancy. Don't actually say that. People will think you're weird, all right? It's farmable. Now, anyway, so terrible farmland, only 20%, so they rely heavily on trade, particularly for one item, wheat or grain, right? So early on, the early Greeks had to trade to gain access to wheat and grain, right? Because that's a big, big resource that most people actually live off of during these time periods, right? So the very first time period, speaking of all those things, though, is the Neolithic era. Now, I know some of you are like, well, how did anybody settle there if their farmland's so bad? There were small plots of farmable land, and typically in Greece, it was only like a few acres per land, not massive holdings or massive land that actually was used in places like Mesopotamia or Egypt to grow huge amount of surpluses, right? So the Neolithic era, though, did start out around 6,000 to 2,900 BC. We got some very simple early artifacts, basically just people started farming and things like that. You got little bits of pottery, etc. You know, you got little figurines popping up. Very definitely some early types of polytheism. We've got some fertility statues down here. We've got a couple of other little small statues here. Early forms of Greek pottery. They're going to make their way through. that's really all there is about the Neolithic era. Just settlement, right? Settlement, okay? Settlement, concentration, farming. That's all you need for the Neolithic era, right? So Nathan, done. All right, so now we're in the Eats Bacon era, right? The early Bronze Age, if you will, right? Now remember, bronze, just so you know what it is, you can draw like a little arrow in your notes over here, right? Bronze is the combination of two metals, copper and tin, mostly copper, which gives it a funky smell, right? So it is defined, though, this early Bronze Age is defined by the introduction of metal bronze, more than likely from either the Egyptians or the Hyksos or somebody from the eastern side of the Mediterranean, right? So more than likely they adopted these things. They did not learn it themselves. They learned it from someone else because of this heavy trade that they actually could like use in these areas, right? So just because the Greeks weren't quite Greek yet doesn't mean that they weren't still trading a little bit as time progressed, right? You have like 6,000 earliest settlements all the way up to 2,900. That's almost 4,000 years to learn how to make a boat and sail a good distance and try to find some like accessible things, right? So you've got different bronze. Bronze is going to be used to create weapons, pots, armor, a lot of different odds and ends, right? So, but then we get into our first Westerners, right? The very first people to have a real legitimate civilization pop up within this area known as modern-day Greece, right? Now, those people originally established themselves, the Minoans anyway, on this little area right here, the island of Crete, all right? Crete. Go ahead and write that down, C-R-E-T-E, right? This little guy off the coast, right? We all had that on our last map quiz, right? So very, very simple stuff. This little island called Crete is going to be where the very first Westerners flower out of, right? And it's going to begin the Minoan period, right? 2000 BC to 1500 BC. We don't know a ton about these people. We only actually know a small amount about them. We are growing our intelligence about them as the years progress because we keep finding other settlements and newer cities and different places like that, right? So we only know a small about this great civilization. However, artifacts and art that they actually procured give us a great glimpse into their life, and we can kind of understand them a little bit better. Now, the main thing, too, is we can see how drastically different they are from their counterparts on Peloponnese, because they're going to pop up a little bit later, and they're known as the Mycenaeans, right? So you're going to kind of start seeing this early combination of like Greek culture and its earliest forms and earliest architecture and earliest languages and things like that kind of pop up before we get into some more like advanced periods. I personally think the Minoans are fabulously intelligent and very, very amazing people, and I'm excited to talk to you guys about them tomorrow. So we're actually going to like discuss those guys tomorrow a little bit, and I'll see you guys then. So I hope you guys have a great evening, and that's it. It's a little short flip, little guy, right? So we did a lot of good stuff today in class, but I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.